In the courtroom, a hearing for Alex Murdaugh today, but outside the courthouse, word that his hunting property is being sold and questions over who endorsed several checks.
Now, our investigative reporter Ann Emerson is breaking some elements in the Murdaugh case tonight. Ann?
There were at least 4 motions to dismiss various parts of lawsuits against Alex Murdaugh, but right now a lot of the work is going on behind the scenes. There were 2 major developments today, one involving the 1,700-acre Moselle property owned by the Murdaugh family. It's the same Colleton County property where Alex Murdaugh's wife Maggie and son Paul were found brutally murdered last year. Lawyers suing Alex Murdaugh confirmed that there is a buyer for the property, listed at $3.9 million. And another development behind the scenes, this time in the Gloria Satterfield case. She was the Murdaugh's housekeeper who died in a trip and fall at the family home. Alex Murdaugh admitted to stealing from her sons in an insurance scheme after her death. Lawyers have recouped $7.5 million, but they're not done yet.
We think BB&T is an additional bank that has exposure.
Only one of the motions involving Alex Murdaugh made it in front of a judge on Monday. It was won by Alex Murdaugh's lawyers. They asked to strike language from another pending lawsuit against Murdaugh, who remains in jail. The language was deemed too scandalous. The plaintiff's lawyer balked at that notion.
The horses already left the barn in this case.
Reporting from Hampton, South Carolina, I'm Ann Emerson.
And we have reached out to Bank of America and BB&T for a response, but have not yet heard back.
Our ABC News 4 podcast, Unsolved South Carolina, the Murdaughs, goes in depth into the investigation. If you're fascinated by this case, download it now and give it a listen.
There were 2 major developments in the civil cases involving Alex Murdaugh. The property where his wife Maggie and son Paul were brutally murdered last year is now reportedly being sold. It is the Moselle family hunting lodge in Colleton County, listed at $3.9 million. The property had been under court order to stop any sale, but that's apparently been lifted. In addition, lawyers suing Alex Murdaugh, who represent Gloria Satterfield's estate, say they are going after another bank. Gloria Satterfield died in a trip and fall at the Moselle home. Already $7.5 million has been recouped from various financial institutions after Murdaugh admitted stealing money from her sons in an insurance scheme.
We are probably going to be adding the bank BB&T to this lawsuit because they were the banker for Corey Fleming, on his trust account. And when he wrote the checks to forge from the Satterfield settlements, those checks were not properly endorsed.
We reached out to BB&T but have not heard back yet. To get up to speed with the latest developments in the Murdaugh case by listening to our podcast, Unsolved South Carolina, the Murdaugh Murders, Money and Mystery, anywhere you find your podcasts.
Hi, Trooper Bob. Thank you, sir. Well, we've been following the story on the shortage of mental health professionals in low country schools for weeks now. But to fill that shortage, the schools need more licensed professionals coming in. So how long is that actually going to take?
Now, Sean Mahoney is back more with information on this process. So, Sean, what are collegiate psychology professors saying about the shortage?
Well, one word to describe how they feel about the current outlook: worried. Now, the head of mental health programs for the SC Department of Education hopes to have one counselor for every 250 students. But districts like CCSD currently sit at a ratio of 1 to 1,000. And many of the local colleges and universities I spoke with don't think there's enough people going into the field to fill that gap.
Shortages in mental health professionals across the state have left many school districts looking to college for more help.
I think especially in the realm of child and adolescent counseling, I feel like we need so many more counselors.
Undergraduate enrollment in psychology programs led some to promise. Universities like South Carolina have 1,300 students enrolled. College of Charleston has 700, Clemson 1,200. But to get these students into schools and license, many will need to earn a master's degree.
It's a long process.
And the spots in these programs are competitive.
We had upwards of 300, I think, applications, and we're going to take, it ranges every year. It's generally somewhere between like 3 and maybe 12 or so.
And even after these students get degrees, there's no guarantee that they will end up in schools.
I'd say maybe anecdotally, somewhere around 50% of those students end up practicing in schools.
The main reason? Money.
So it's hard to keep people around when they can get paid twice as much in some instances, going out and starting up their own work.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, school counselors make an average of $41.5 thousand, while a licensed therapist in private practice averages around $53.5 thousand.
And how much is it going to cost them? And how much are they going to be able to make as a licensed professional counselor? And then weigh that cost benefit analysis.
So how will these schools solve the immediate shortage? Well, in some cases, these students are already there.
So we actually end up having a lot of our students out at these externship placements where there is like a really high need.
One of the master programs at USC has students fill in at school districts in need, but the severe shortage of counselors has already stretched that resource thin.
This speaks to just the whole problem itself, that we're running out of students that can really help.
So what is a possible solution? These professors say an increase in funding.
You know, we have some really great students in our program, and they just have a heart to help people. And so my hope is that an understanding will increase as funding and resources increase.
Now, one thing to note, the mental health program manager for the South Carolina Department of Education says they are planning to use ESSER, E-S-S-E-R funds to help attract more counselors into schools. Those resources are expected to come within the next couple of months.